What's up, fam? Hope everybody's doing good. Um, so I'm studying for the MCAT, and trying to get these amino acids done, right? But there's a lot. In case you haven't done them already, I figured maybe I'll just show you. I'll show you like how I think about it. Because it's just maybe like honestly, it's like the stupid things, like the dumb mnemonics that really stick out to me. Like like some of them are a little bit inappropriate, but it makes them nice and memorable. So I figured, hey, let me kill two birds, one stone. I'll study, and at the same time, I can help out the squad. Perhaps, maybe. And if you don't like them, there's a million mnemonics, but I figured, yeah, I'll throw them out there. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so the way that I do these is we start with the non-polar side chains, right? Followed by the polar. I'm going to put that in blue because polar, like water, right? Polar, poles, cold, North Pole, South Pole, blue, cold. And then we're going to do charged. The charged up ones. And I'm going to do it like this. CHAR. Charged. Right, because we're going to have two of the negatives, which are red. Red is bad. And three of the positives to kind of balance that out. So, how do I remember this? Just bear with me. It's a couple mnemonics, but the first one, for the non-polars, what I like to do is this mnemonic. Grandma always visits London in May for Winston's party. Grandmother always visits London in May for Winston's parties. Right? You gotta make it silly. You gotta make it stupid, otherwise it won't stick. So for non-polar, right? Grandma always visits London in May for Winston's parties. Right? Lots of words. Very, very fancy and sophisticated. Okay? Now, for polar, let's think North Pole. Let's think about the North Pole, right? So we're going to talk about who lives in the North Pole. We know who lives in the North Pole, Santa Claus. So, Santa's team crafts new quilts yearly. So those elves are up there, and it's cold up there, man. It's brick. They need blankets. And people want blankets for Christmas. So Santa's team, the elves, craft new quilts yearly. And Christmas comes once a year. So far we have Grandmother always visits London in May for Winston's party. And we also know that Santa's team crafts new quilts yearly. Now, we're going to get a little charged up, right? And it might seem negative, but it also could be seen as positive when I tell you that dragons eat knights riding horses. So when you think of dragons eating, usually that's probably a bad sign, because it's more than likely us that the dragon is eating. But then comes the knights to the rescue, knights riding horses. Those are positive. Those are our positively charged amino acid residues, right? And we're saying positively charged. This is assuming that we're at a pH, physiological pH of about 7.4. You're just going to have to study the pH pKa relationship to kind of know what I mean there, because honestly, probably can't even explain it. But. Okay, so Grandmother always visits London in May for Winston's party. Santa's team crafts new quilts yearly, and dragons eat Knights riding horses. Okay? You guys got it. Yeah. The accents aren't necessary, absolutely. I know Jermaine laughing right now. I know it. I know Kariatu and Sundays are definitely chuckling as well right now, because this is a little bit wild, but this is how we're gonna remember. So, and just allow me to speak out loud. Maybe it'll help me remember as well when I go to war in a couple weeks. All right, let's start with the non-polar. Non-polar. We're not on the North Pole right now. We're in England. Grandmother. So G. We're starting from the beginning. We're gonna get from least to most complex. You just gotta know that glycine, G, glycine. You gotta just memorize the 3-letter abbreviations. GLY. All right, let me get a smaller one. GLY. Glycine. You just gotta know that that's the easiest one. It has only a hydrogen attached to it, right? That's the R group that we're looking at. I already have the backbones drawn out just because, make life easier. Also, just for the record, notice how the O minus here, this could be an OH, but at physiological pH, we're going to have an O minus. Instead, the H is going to leave, and we're going to have H3N plus, making this a neutral backbone, right? The plus and the negative cancel out. And we'll talk more about that in the charged amino acid residue section. But anyway, glycine, very simple. Just a hydrogen. You just got to know that. And fun fact for the record, glycine is the only amino acid that is what? Non-chiral. Chiral meaning, among other things, that this carbon over here is attached. Normally, it would be attached to 4 different groups, right? But instead, we have this carbon attached to two here. So it's attached to this, it's attached to this, it's attached to the hydrogen, and we already assume, since this is a carbon, right, and it has a 4 bonding capacity, we assume there's another hydrogen here. And since we have 2 hydrogens, they're not different, so that's achiral. It's achiral, and that's a common question I've come across. All right, so just memorize glycine. Now, grandma always, alanine. All right, so we went from the simplest to what can possibly be simpler than that? Just a methyl group. Let me go back to purple. CH3. Easy peasy, right? And this is alanine. Glycine, alanine. Now we have valine. And notice we have a little progression. Easy, or easiest, easier. Now we're going to go to easy. Okay? And look at this. We have a V. Notice the V in valine. So we want to kind of mimic that here. And just get familiar with the C's and the CH's, right? If you have a certain number of things bonded, you have a different, it's just chemistry. But now we're going to make a V. So we have the CH. There's our V. Since these are on the end, it's CH3. All right, there's our valine. Okay. Leucine, not to be confused with lysine, which is very different. Leucine is going to continue this trend a little bit. That should be CH2. Okay, we're going to just add on to that. We're just going to build onto this and do the same thing. Here's our V. Okay. There's leucine. Now think loose. You hear leucine, leucine. Something is loose. Something is going to fall off. Something is losing. We're losing something. And we're actually going to the way I'm thinking about it, we're talking about this. Now we have isoleucine, ILE, isoleucine, right? So the way I like to think about it is this dude over here got mad at everybody else and decided to isolate himself. So we have, he decided to just leave and dip out. So now he's up here. You don't want to talk to nobody. He's isolated, isoleucine. Okay? And the other ones, they're just going about their business, enjoying life. See, the CH2 is attached. It has two different bonds, right? CH3 is only bonded once. The CH has three different bonds, right? In order to make room for those bonds, we have to get rid of one of the hydrogens. So there's isoleucine. All right. Grandma always visits London in May. Okay, what's M? Now, we know M is probably going to be methionine. And naturally, being a Breaking Bad fan, my head went to meth, right? So, Mr. White, right? Yeah, so the way I thought of this one was meth heads. Okay, yes, it's very inappropriate. I understand. Whatever, there's worse. But meth heads. Meth has S. Meth has S. Meth heads. Meth heads. Okay, yeah, that's going in my head a little bit. Okay, so let's go. Sorry. CH2, CH2, see, everything seems normal, and then everything got messed up because they chose the world of drugs. And here we have our S. Now we have a S, a sulfur group. And then eventually, thank goodness, they got their life back on track and went back to the norm. So methionine, I like to think meth heads. Meth has S. Right? Okay. Grandmother always visits London in May. 4. Okay. F. Phenylalanine. Phenylalanine. Now, what is in the word phenylalanine? Oh, alanine. We did that already. We did alanine over here, right? Huh. Why would they call it phenylalanine? Oh, a phenol group. A phenol is a ring structure, right, with double bonds, right? It's a benzene ring. So if that's a phenol group. So here, CH2, right? Alanine is just that one methyl group, that carbon. And then we're just going to add on that phenol. Phenylalanine. Phenylalanine. Phenol. A phenol and an alanine. Great. Wonderful. Grandmother always visits London in May for Winston's party. Okay, so we're talking about Winston right now. Now, here's the thing. Winston is an interesting name, and he got picked on for it a lot. Like in school, they used to bully him, and they would trip him in the hallway. They'd give him like swirlies and whatever. But yeah, he had a tough life. Things were complicated, so he got tripped a lot. He was in the hallway. They tripped him. They tripped him in the hallway. Poor Winston, the poor guy. And now he's hanging out with my grandma. But W is actually going to be our tryptophan. Here, and F is actually phenylalanine. Okay? He a fan, tryptophan. So when I hear tryptophan, I think to myself, don't get tripped up. Don't get tripped up, Stephen, because this is a hard one. This is a tough one, and you know it's going to be a tough one. In fact, in my opinion, this is the hardest one. And honestly, you kind of just got to remember it, but at least you can associate this structure with the word tryptophan. W. Winston got tripped a lot, and it messed him up and made him a very complicated soul. Okay, and this is basically what we're looking at here. kind of just gotta muscle memory this one, guys. I'm not that creative, but excuse my horrible organic chemistry drawings. Also, you can think about, so actually, no, I do kind of have something. W, right? If you really squint your eyes and use your imagination, I can kind of see a W here, right? It looks kind of like a W, right? If I use my imagination, I can kind of see a W here. I can kind of see a W here, right? So just, little things that just help bring everything into perspective. So don't get tripped up on this one. Because it is tough. And that finally brings us to the best part, which is the party, right? Because we know that Grandma always visits London in May for Winston's party. But here's the thing. What's P? P is proline. P is proline. And you know why they call it proline? Because you got to be a pro at biochemistry to figure this one out. This one is only for the pros. Why? Because you kind of got to mess with the backbone a little bit, right? It's like when you go to a chiropractor, I say, no, don't go to a chiropractor. Go to an orthopedist, right? Leave it to the pros. Chiropractor's going to break your back, right? Leave it to the pros. So you're going to break the backbone here. And you're going to kind of have to remember that we're not going to have what we're used to, the H3N plus over here. We're actually going to have H2N. And why is that? Because we're about to connect these dudes over here. The backbone, this amino side chain over here, is going to become part of the R group, and they're going to connect with one another in a ring-like structure. Okay, so we're going to kind of make a little pentagon here, I think is the right word. All right. H2N. It's a little bit ugly, but there you go. That's our proline. Think proline. Okay? And there are nonpolar side chains. Nonpolar. Grandmother always visits London in May for Winston's party. Lovely, thank you. Now, it's time to move on to some colder temperatures, some more Arctic climates. And that's going to be up on the North Pole with the big homie St. Nicholas, right? Now, polar. We think Santa. Polar. Santa's team crafts new quilts yearly. And that makes sense. Santa's team, the elves, they craft. What would they be crafting? Well, they craft all kinds of things. But in the North Pole, there's one thing they really need, and that's warmth. They need quilts. They need some quilts. And this is an all-year operation, so they're doing this yearly. They got some serious demands come December. All right, Santa's team crafts new quilts yearly. I don't know a Santa accent, so whatever. But here we go. S. Let's start with S. Serene. I have absolutely nothing. Shut up, Siri. Okay, Siri, go home. Thank you. I don't want to be too mean. The AI is, okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. They're going to take over one day. I'm saving my own butt over here. Okay. Serine. It's just CH2OH. If it helps you, you can think ho, ho, ho. OH at the bottom. Ho, ho, ho. Okay. Serine, that's Santa. Santa says ho, ho, ho. Okay, but there's only one, though, so I don't know what to tell you. Now we have threonine. Okay, here, serine. Now we have threonine. What's going to naturally come to mind? Three, right? So we're going to be thinking about 3 different carbons, but these carbons are sisters. right? And they're all a little bit different, but everybody knows that one of them is an absolute hoe. And that's okay. All about it. All about the positivity, man. We're not going to, never mind. We're not going to talk about positivity until the next one. But we got three of them, and one of them's a hoe, right? I'm a sick person. I don't know what to tell you. That's just the way I remember it. Threonine. Okay? Now, speaking of sisters, I personally have a sister. She's not a hoe, thank goodness. But she is extremely annoying, and she doesn't stop talking sometimes, especially when I'm trying to study. So, for C, which we know is going to be cysteine, right? I always find myself telling her, yo, sis, shh, shut up, man. I'm trying to study. What are you doing? I'm trying to be doctors out here, cuz. Okay, so for cysteine, we're going to remember, you're just going to have to remember that there's a CH2 there. I don't know. But for cysteine, we're going to be saying, shh. Okay, I just spit all over my iPad. That was nice. All right. Make sense? Cysteine, shh. Now that we're getting into some murkier territories over here. N. Anyone know what N is? N is going to be for asparagine. Why? Because they found this amino acid for the first time in an asparagus. Now, there's one thing that I love asparagus personally, but there's one downside that I think we're all familiar with, and it makes your pee smell, right? Right. So, what's pee? It's just water. It's just water. But the way I like to think of it is I use the word, instead of H2O, H2 no. That shit stank, man. I don't want to smell that. It's disgusting. Anyway, I'm sorry to be so disgusting. But here. CH. H2 no. H2 no. That's not water. That ain't H2O. That's H2 no. Okay? Nobody got time for that. Have a different vegetable. All right, so asparagine. Whoo, that stinks. H2 no. That is H2 no, not H2O. All right, cool. Now, Q. Q is, honestly, I don't even remember what I did for this one, but it's glutamine, not to be confused with glutamic acid or glutamate. Okay, so that's just going to be CH2, CH, H2NO. Okay, so again, we have the H2 no. I don't know, glute, something with glutes. I'm sure we can think of something terrible. All right, I'll leave that to your all imagination. It's yeah. Anyway, so here we are now at why. That is the question. Why must we learn these stupid things? Why must we do these? And that's tyrosine, by the way. Tyrosine. Why? Tyrosine, which is, you might remember from my discussion in that horrible presentation I gave, tyrosine could be used as a precursor to catecholamines like dopamine or epinephrine and norepinephrine, or L-DOPA. I digress, but so tyrosine. Why? So we're asking a question. Why? Stephen, why? Why are you doing all this long video that I'm probably already exited out of several minutes ago. But if you're still here, well done. Why? Because we have to know biochemistry. We need to know about things like benzene rings. And this little circle here, that's just another way of writing this. Okay, we have to know all these things. We got to know about methyl groups and benzene rings. We have to know these things because we want to be great physicians one day. We want to save lives. So you're asking me why? That's why. And naturally, your response will be, oh, didn't know that. Okay. Oh, thanks. You're welcome. Great. All right, so we're leaving the North Pole. It's a break out there, but we've unfortunately treaded into some even murkier territory. We went from the lovely land of England, where grandmother parties with Sir Winston, to the blistering weather of the North Pole, the Arctic, where Santa is, using elf slave labor to produce manufactured quilts. And he does this on a yearly basis, and nobody's intervening. But, ask Raheem about the Center for Human Rights involvement. We can start making a change. But anyway, enough with the stupid jokes. Now we're on to the charged particles, the charged amino acid residues. Excuse me. And when I say the term residue, right, an amino acid is just an individual amino acid by itself. It's not connected to anything. But if I have, right, an amino acid in a peptide, right, and they're all connected, and these are all peptide bonds here. If I have a polymer, right, a primary sequence of say, asparagine, valine, and leucine, and they're all connected, and we know that they're all connected, but I'm only referring to one of them, then it's a residue. It's not just an amino acid. It would be an amino acid residue. And I'm sure everybody already knows that, but just in case somebody was out that day in biochem, I figured I would mention it. Okay. So, you want to hear the bad news first or the good news first? Everybody always says the bad news. We're going to start with the bad news. We're going to start with the negative. Okay? So here are our negatively charged amino acid residues. Why is it D and why is it E? No idea. But it is what it is, and that's just another testament to the negativity of these two particular residues. Now, let's start with D. D, I'll just straight up tell you, is aspartic acid, right? And if it's in its deprotonated form, it'll be aspartate, right? And E is going to be glutamic acid. And by that same reasoning, it would be glutamate in it. I believe it's deprotonated form. I think, yeah, with a negative charge, yes. Might want to double check that, though. Anyway, let's start with D. So we're thinking negative, okay? D-aspartic, Sparta, Spartans. Oh, okay, the Spartans, they were always doing what? They fight. Spartans fight, or they spar in preparation. And we all know that fighting's not good. That's a very negative quality to have, right? Unless you're fighting for your patients, of course. But Spartans fight. And fighting is bad. It's negative. Right? And what happened when the bad kid at school got in trouble? Well, I know firsthand, having been quite the troublemaker in my younger years, back when I was young and foolish, and now I'm just old and foolish. If I got yelled at by the teacher, everybody else, I'd hear them go, ooh, he's in trouble, right? So, most of them are going to start with just your regular old CH2, but when I think of this, I hear, ooh, I'm thinking, and it's in a negative way, I'm thinking, O minus, O, ooh, he's in trouble, he didn't know his amino acids. Okay, so there's your ooh. That's for D, aspartic acid. E, glutamic acid. So you all know Bonnie and Clyde, where there's one bad apple, there's always their lover. There's always their mate, right? And, you see it in movies all the time. They like the Joker, right? The Joker and Harley Quinn, like, they're inseparable. They're like almost glued to each other, you could say. So for glutamine, or for glutamic acid, or glutamate, which is not to be confused with glutamine, made my own mistake, they're clear, glutamate. There. This one here, you can't even separate E from the D. I'm gonna let you do with that what you will, but here, glued to its mate. All right, they're inseparable. They're always, if this one's negative, I want to be negative too. I'm going with you, babe. We're ride or die. Whatever. Let them talk. I don't even care. I love you. I love you so much. And you know what? Whatever you do, I'm gonna take it one step further. So here, I'm gonna do another H. So here, CH2. I'm gonna do another one because that's how much I love you. Here. And that's kind of cute, right? So the audience, what happens when you see something cute? They go, ooh. Okay, so first you have the bad boy over here. Think about that. And then he got in trouble. Ooh, the bad Spartan. And then you have the love of his life, or her life, or whoever's life, their life. And that's just ride or die, right there. That's just, I'm glued to the mate. You do something, I'm gonna do it even one step further because we're inseparable and I love you. And then the audience goes, ooh, right? All right, great. You get the idea. Lovely. Okay, wonderful. My poor students. Oh my goodness. Okay, it's a good thing I don't teach biochem. Unfortunately, I teach anatomy, which leaves even more room for, I'm gonna just stop there. Okay, let's move on to more positive things, all right? Because the dragon eats knights riding horses, and we got rid of the dragon eating, okay? The dragon eats fire-breathing, they're sparring, and they're Spartans, and they're fighting, and they have a weird, crazy love affair, and then ooh, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so we're done with them. Let's move on to the other side of the coin. And good always prevails against evil. And that's why we have 3 positive residues rather than that can overpower these negative residues. Okay, so knights riding horses. K, for obvious reasons, is lysine. And of course, I said that very facetiously. I can't imagine why it's lysine, but anyway, these two over here, they got a messed up relationship. These two, they're crazy. There's always some kind of drama. There's always some kind of windshield getting broken or something. I don't even know. But this guy, he's right here. He sees it all. He's right next to them. So lysine, he sees all their argument. There's been a lot of lies that he's seen. He's seen the affairs and the crazy stuff. Lysine has seen a lot of lies. In fact, he's seen them about 4 times. He's heard like the cops came, everything. It was terrible. So lysine, lies seen 4 times, 4 different times. He saw one of them lie to the other. Isn't that terrible? That's not healthy. It's toxic. Hence the negativity. 4 times. And even because he's a knight with honor, right? Because he's so positive. He's always thinking about the good. He said, nah, I'm gonna stay positive. I'm not gonna let them get to me. I'm gonna stick with my fam over here. Forget these guys. Nah, I'm gonna stay positive. And that is where we bring in the NH3. Nah. I mean, obviously it's not sodium, so NH3 plus. Nah, I'm gonna stay positive. I'm not gonna let these heathens influence me. Absolutely not. I don't care how many times they lie to each other. I'm not gonna let it affect me. Okay, lysine has seen lies 4 times. Nah. I'm gonna stay positive. Okay, now here we have R. I always think of a pirate when I think of this, but that's not at all related to what I'm about to say. But arginine, me mateys. We're going to see me boy Winston. I used to pick on him. Okay, arginine. So we got arginine. Okay. And I like to think origin, the originine. Okay, so when I think origin, I'm like, okay, arginine maybe originated from this guy over here, right? Its origin story is coming from lysine. So it kind of looks like lysine in the beginning, but then it brings its own self, arginine, right? I need a better orange than this. This is terrible. Here. That's not much better, but here. Arginine. There's 2 N's. Arginine. Right? There's 2 N's in here. So this arginine likes N's. Okay? And it's just gonna, it's just gonna go crazy with the N's. So here you go. NH2 plus. So it said I'm gonna switch to N's for a little while. It said I'm done with this CH garbage. I'm gonna go to N's here. NH2, and then it goes. I don't know if this is for me. Let me go back to C for a second. Nah. I'm positive. I am positive that I like N's. I am absolutely positive, and that's why I'm gonna put another one over here. There's 3 different N's in arginine. Originine. Okay? Yes, extremely crazy, and that's okay. Because that's the field that we chose. If we weren't crazy, we wouldn't be doing this. Now, finally, the last one. H. H is histidine. Now, everybody else has all their own little backstories, right? You got glycine, you got alanine, valine, you got, this one is running away from the pack and became isolated from leucine, and this one's a meth head, and this one is a phenol group with an alanine. This one is Winston. He's getting tripped all over the place, bullied. This one's a professional orthopedist, right? This one is just a hoe. This one's sister won't shut up over here. This one's pee smells. Right? This one's pee smells worse, I guess. This one's asking too many questions. Right? This one's violent. This one is just, crazy. This one thinks he's all that. This one's a rebel. But this dude, this last little fella, he's boring. Histidine. He stayed home. Histidine. He stayed home. And why do I say that? This is what histidine looks like. He stayed home. We got the little chimney over here. Right? He's got the little garden, the little stoop down here. Histidine's a smart one. He don't need no drama. He stayed home. Histidine. He stayed home. And let me just go ahead and yeah, this is probably a little bit easier to read, right? So everybody's got their own little thing going on. And finally, last but not least, we have Histidine, who stayed home. He stayed home. And he's just chilling. That's his story. He got a beautiful little house here. It looks kind of like a house, right? You know what I'm saying? There's the roof, and there's a little chimney, and then here's the smoke, and everyone's happy. And then here comes Santa down the chimney to deliver the new quilts that his lovely laborers have put together. And that, my friends, is how my sick, twisted mind works. And if it helped you, I am glad. If I confused you further, then you better get to studying. I hope this serves as a reminder that we got a lot to do. I got a lot to do, that's for sure. I will be in touch with more helpful and or meaningless nonsense. But, you know. Okay. Thank you very much.